So, should sellers sell now or should they wait until 2021? That's the question that we're going to answer this evening. Hi everybody, I'm Marcus Collins.
And I'm Dani Fleming
From
of the MA Properties
Properties
Online team.
There we go. So
we thought that it was appropriate to get this message out to folks now, because I'm talking to an awful lot of sellers and they're all under the impression that because of the pandemic, the market is terrible and that there's nothing happening. In fact, the market is the best it's ever been. It's incredibly buoyant. And a lot of sellers are planning on delaying until 2021. So as part of this education sort of phase, we wanted to let people know exactly what's going on and why it may be beneficial to sell this year rather than wait until next year.
Okay, so last night, it was Tuesday night, which is usually a busy night anyway, but you were really, really busy last night. So what exactly was going on? Why were you so busy? What was going on?
Well, Tuesdays we typically plan to review offers on homes, and we had 2 homes that we were reviewing offers on. One of them had 26 offers on it.
Wow.
Now, yeah, it was quite busy.
That's a lot of offers.
But what's really key to that, I'm just checking my notes, 13 of those 26 offers had no inspection contingency. Now, 6 of those buyers that had dropped their inspection contingency had pre-inspections in that period of time, because the home came on the market on Thursday, we reviewed offers on Tuesday. So
right.
In that period of 4 days, 5 days, whichever that is, 4 days. Anyway, 6 of those buyers had done pre-inspections so that their offer wouldn't have an inspection contingency. But there were 7 other offers that just dropped their inspection contingency because they wanted the house. And 10 of them didn't have mortgage contingencies. Now, without having a mortgage contingency doesn't necessarily mean that it's a cash offer. In fact, most of the time, it's not a cash offer. It's just they're not making their offer contingent on getting a mortgage. But it wasn't just last
First question, hold on. So what price point was that?
That home, sorry, thank you. That home was at $850,000. Now you might sort of think, okay, well that's sub $1 million in Lexington.
Always going to be busy, right?
Always going to be busy.
Sure.
But the weekend before, we bought a home on the market in Lexington for $1.4 million. We had 15 offers on that one, and 9 of them had no inspection contingency, and 5 of them had no mortgage contingencies. So it's not just the sub $1 million mark, it's over the $1 million mark as well. The buyers are out in force at many different price points.
Okay. So I seem to remember this time last year we were either in Wimbledon or we were at Silverstone for the F1, because this time of year there really isn't that much going on. So 26 offers, almost the end of July, mid-July let's call it. Is that normal? It doesn't sound like it was...
Oh no, that's
right.
Not normal. It's not normal in any way, shape or form. What we typically see near the end of July, we start seeing buyers going to sleep, right. Because most buyers need a mortgage, and most buyers want to get into the town for the school system. So if they're not under agreement by the end of July, when mortgages take 4 to 6 weeks typically to close, the buyers start slowing down. We're actually seeing a huge influx of buyers into the market, and not just the buyers who went quiet when they were hunkering down because of the pandemic, but I believe we're seeing a lot more first-time home buyers. We're seeing a lot of new buyers, but interestingly enough, during the offer process, when we get the offer, we often see where the buyers are coming from. And a lot of the buyers are coming from more urban spaces in Boston. Yeah, so it's...
So the pandemic is having an effect because as people want to move out of those more urban, more densely packed areas into the burbs, as we would say. Right, less dense, essentially.
It's we are seeing some of that now. Whether that's across the board, I just know with the homes that we're doing offers on, that's what we're starting to see a bit of. Yeah,
we've heard a lot of stories about people saying, I no longer want to live in New York City. I want to live a little bit further out where it's a little bit less dense.
Yep.
So maybe we're seeing a little bit of that
Yep.
here in Boston as well.
Definitely.
Cambridge, Somerville, perhaps not as just too populated for people who want to move themselves out. So
lots of buyers.
lots of buyers.
Lots
So
of buyers.
so we're in the middle of clearly in the middle of this, still in the middle of this pandemic and social distancing, masks, all of that. How do buyers get in to see this home? Open houses do we do? How does that all work in this kind of environment?
So the way buyers see a home has changed dramatically from the pre-pandemic phase. Whether it will get back to normal, I don't know.
Or when,
we
I
just
guess.
don't know.
When is the question, right? Is it?
But what we're seeing is there are some open houses, some agents are doing open houses. There is so much risk associated with an open house. And I'm not talking
Why
from
is
the
that, right?
I'm not talking from the pandemic perspective,
Okay.
COVID-19
Yep,
perspective. I'm talking about the fact that if you get 30 buyers turning up at an open house, only one group can get in at any one point in time from a safety perspective. You're going to get an awful lot of buyers.
2 minutes in an hour, right? Or you wait.
You're going to get an
Right.
awful lot of buyers who are waiting outside
Correct.
and getting more and more irritated that the people who are in the house right now, they've been in there for 20 minutes, they've been in there for half an hour.
Right.
It's our turn. And once you lose those buyers,
So you're just going to walk away at that point.
they're going to walk away and they're
Right.
not going to be interested.
Okay.
So we trialed doing some open houses and decided that that wasn't a good way of doing them.
Okay.
So what we're seeing, the way buyers are getting in, is digital assets. They're looking at 3D tours, they're looking at videos. We're doing virtual open houses where those are being played. All of this they're checking the house out first online,
So do that first and then making a decision.
whether they want to see the house.
Right.
And what they're doing is they're arranging appointments with their buyer's agent. This house that had 26 offers on it yesterday, 80 private showings in the 4 days. It
Wow.
was basically blocked. 80 private showings and 6 pre-inspections.
Mm-hmm.
So it was basically blocked from 8 a.m. in the morning till about 7 p.m. at night, with no gaps in between.
Right.
With buyers just going in and out with their buyer's agents, and no overlapping appointments, because that's quite important at the moment. So that's
That seems hugely disruptive to the sellers if they're living there. I'm guessing you're asking them to go away. But how if I was a seller and you said to me, well, looking at the way the home, this is a very popular time. Looks like the house will be busy from 8 till 5 or 7. What do you recommend to sellers in that instance?
So I do recommend that sellers do head away for the weekend, because it's, even if there's 30 private showings in the 4 days, you don't want, as a seller, you don't want to come home for an hour. You've got an hour in between the next showing, and then you go out, and then you've come back and you've got 15 minutes before the next showing.
Yeah,
It's
it just doesn't make sense,
too
right?
disruptive.
Yep. Yep.
So if you anticipate to go away on the Friday and then come back on the Tuesday morning, and you're going to know when the showings are being requested, because we have a tool that the agents can make those showing requests, and the seller gets to see them as they're happening. So they know when showings are happening.
Okay.
And when they should.
But given
avoid.
that level of interest,
Yeah, 80 showings, 80 private showings.
There's only
Luckily, this home was vacant. So,
Right. So there's only
fair game.
there's only so much time you can spend in Starbucks. At some point, you do have to come back. So looking at, given that we're now opened up, maybe go away for that weekend. I know last weekend I was away. You can get away for that weekend. It just makes it much easier to get that many people through. Because I'm guessing if you restrict the number of private showings, you're going to restrict the number of offers that you get.
Yeah, the exposure's key. You've got to get as many buyers in the door as you can and have them have a positive experience when they're in the home, not waiting outside for an open house and waiting for 3 hours in the heat. That's not a positive experience, and they're not going to wait.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
So, did you anticipate that? I mean, I guess you had a sense that this was going to be busy. Maybe not this busy. So,
Not this busy.
did you anticipate?
This was a record.
This was a record. Okay.
Actually.
So did you?
But we'll have more.
Hopefully
we can beat those. Did we anticipate?
Yeah.
Yes. So we have an app where where we can see real time how many views of all of the virtual assets that we
show
have.
that, right?
Yeah.
Why don't we go ahead and show that?
Okay. So this is the app. It's available on the App Store or Google Play, MA Prop online. If you there's a dashboard that we set up for a seller, and quickly go on to 67.
Okay,
yeah,
we'll go on to this one, the
one.
really popular one. I guess so. Now it's, guess what? It's, as this was the house that had that many showings, it's kind of moved into the accepted offer. But if we go back to on market,
so we typically say there's a pretty strong correlation with the stats. With the stats, we know that if we get 40 plus views each day for the first couple of days of the 3D tour, that will correlate to about 20 private showings, 20 plus private showings, which will then correlate to about 2 or more offers on the Tuesday. When you have a look at what this home got,
183 on the first day, almost
and we didn't get it on the market until
right,
about 4 o'clock in the afternoon.
That was the Thursday.
So that was all.
And on the Friday we're at 200. So, you know, as you were saying before, most people are using these tools. It dropped off on the Saturday and the Sunday.
Yep.
Because most buyers are using this tool to pre-vet the home. Right?
Yes.
Pre-vet that home.
Yeah.
I see. You can see that clearly in the data. You know,
because even on the last day, we had 71 views of the 3D tour. So
it's still a high number, but nowhere near what we had on. So using this to
knew.
Right, you knew on Thursday at the end of the day
yeah.
that it was acceptable. The other one you mentioned was the 1.4 million. Let's take a look at that one.
Yep.
Similar,
so
really.
Again,
135 on the Thursday, and you know, and then clearly it drops off.
And this is real-time data. This is so the sellers are checking this hourly if they want. They're checking it daily if they want. They're checking it minute
by minute,
5 minutes if they want. So they're seeing the numbers ramping up, and they're seeing what the response is to their home being on the market, and that gives them a pretty good idea of what's going to be happening.
So we've given 2 examples here of homes that were very busy.
Yep.
What if there's not as much interest?
We're not going to show you.
We won't show that, right? But that clearly tells us something too.
So we talk to our sellers beforehand and let them know what typical statistics are that we would see that would indicate that we would have offers. And just a couple of 2 or 3 weeks ago, I had a seller contact me on the Saturday, and he said, "We're not seeing the sort of interest that we should be seeing on the home, are we?" And I said, "No, we're not." So it's they're seeing for themselves. It's not me telling them. The buyers aren't really
and then
responding.
they can react quickly. Maybe they came on too expensive. They need to reduce the price, whatever that reason may be.
About 2 or 3 or 4 weeks ago, I'm not sure how long ago it was. Time's just sort of in a bit of a blur.
Sounds
at
like
the
it
moment.
with 26 offers.
One of the homes that we bought on the market wasn't getting the reaction we expected. The seller knew, he was on it pretty regularly, and he knew that we weren't getting the response. On the Tuesday, when we didn't get offers, he sort of said, "What do we do?" And I said, "We drop the price. We adjust the price because the buyers are telling us that they didn't feel that the price was, you know, just by how many views we were getting." You can see that
straight away, right?
Yeah. So we actually dropped the price immediately, and we reviewed offers the following weekend, and we had 5 offers on the home. So again,
you're able to react quickly to a changing market, whichever way that market is, of course.
Yeah.
Right? Be it up or down.
Yeah. And so he was very pleased because we ended up taking the price back to where it was the week before, that we didn't get any offers with 5 offers.
You allow competition to kind of bring it up
kicked
to that,
it all the way back up again.
That level.
Yeah.
So anybody watching this who's thinking, should I sell? Should I not? It's probably going, wow, seems I should sell now, right? Given what you just said. But, you know,
this is a hugely different market to what we...
Yeah, we've just never seen this before, right?
Yeah.
So, but I'm living somewhere today, and I really want to sell, and I put it on the market. I need to have somewhere to live, though, because by the sound of it, if I do everything right, we get the 3D tour and all that done, get all those pre-showings, looks like it may well sell.
Yep, your home will be under agreement
the following Tuesday. So
So there's a few different scenarios.
How do I do that?
There are a few different scenarios. We do an advanced seller seminar each year. We do about 3 of them. And we created slides to show people how to do it, or what the different techniques are. Now, obviously, every person has different requirements and different needs.
So maybe we could just take them through a couple of examples here and just show them some of the options. Why don't we do that?
Well, for instance, if you already own a second home, that's an easy one. We just bring the home on the market, and whenever it works for you. And there's another example, next one. Say, for instance, you want to buy without needing to sell. Well, we can get your home ready to go on the market now, get it on the market, have a bit of a longer closing, but at the same time as that, we find a home for you to buy and try and coincide the closing dates. The next one...
Now the hard ones, right?
Yeah, the next one's buying with a home sale contingency. It's pretty tough in the markets that we're in around here with 26 offers, because remember I just said 13 of them dropped their home inspection contingency and 10 dropped their mortgage contingency. You try and throw in a home sale contingency, forget it, it's not going to happen.
You're just not competitive in this market, is what it comes down to.
But I mean, we have a home under agreement right now, one of the homes that we're selling, and it has a home sale contingency on it. Actually, two.
Two actually, yeah,
two of them.
Right, yep.
And because they had been on the market a little bit longer, there wasn't as much demand for the home, so the sellers were willing to take a risk with selling to a buyer that has a home sale contingency. And both of those homes are now fully moving forward because both of the homes sold.
Because arguably that home sale contingency won't last very long, because if you do everything right, that's kind of the caveat here. You put it on the market on Thursday, it's likely that you can clear the home sale contingency the following Tuesday.
Yep.
Right, makes sense.
So that's... And then there's another one that, for instance, you want to sell first and then buy. That's a little bit more risky in this type of market. I mean, it's still what am I talking about? It's a good thing to be doing at the moment, because you can bring your home on the market, try and find something to buy. After that, we'll do a long closing on it. Right. But you got to know that on a certain date you're moving out. Now, what some people are choosing to do, some sellers that are choosing to use this option, is they're not even thinking about buying something else. They're just planning to rent temporarily while they're looking for something else, because they don't want to be forced into a quick hurry to buy something that may not be the right home
Might
for
be
them.
a kind of 60% of what they're looking for, whereas if they waited a little bit longer, you've got some options, right? Yeah.
So renting is also an option, taking advantage of the market right now, planning to rent, and then taking it quietly, because as we'll talk a little bit further on, we believe there's going to be a fair bit of inventory on the market in 2021, but we'll get into that as to what's yeah. He's looking at me saying, "Why aren't you talking now?"
Carry on. You want to go do the rest
I'm
of
good.
it? You're good.
I'm gonna have a drink.
So, how about we answer the question, because this is inevitably, I mean, we've kind of gone through how buoyant the market is, but what has been the impact of COVID on the 2020 market?
Just 1 second.
Okay.
I went through those things really, really fast.
Wow. Okay, you're right. You did. Yeah,
I went through them really, really fast. If you want to talk about them in more detail, and we can find out which way is right for you, then just call or email or something like that, and I'll talk you through them.
And we'll put your details at the end. Yeah. It was a kind of it's a rattle through. I think what you did though, when you went through it, is whatever your circumstance. Yeah. We've got one or more techniques that will actually get you.
Can use.
Right. It's not this kind of, actually I have no idea. It's like, okay, here's my portfolio of solutions. Which one fits you based on your individual circumstances?
Yeah, I should have probably explained that a little bit more.
Yeah, leave it to me. I'll do that for you.
Yeah,
no problem.
right.
No
Keep
problem.
going. So tell us, what was the impact?
What was the impact of COVID on the 2020 market? Right, so let's take a look. I'm the graph guy, so let's show some graphs. So in this graph, which is a cumulative number, the cumulative listings. So I looked at all the listings and I kind of did it cumulatively. Blue is 2019 and the orange is 2020. And I took this up to the end of June. So first half of the year, basically. What you can see, if I kind of show you with my cursor, around about the last 2 weeks of March, 2020 stopped. The number of listings stopped. Stayed that way throughout March and then into April, but only really came back where this line begins to kind of steepen in the May timeframe. There was a big question, is it going to be May, is it going to be June? Turns out that the number of listings and therefore the number of buyers came into the market in that May timeframe. As you can see though, we are still a little bit behind where we would expect to be. Not that much.
Homes.
Yeah, it's about 10% or so, not very much at all.
And this is the really surprising part. I mean, with 26 buyers
Sure.
making an offer on this, there's more buyers out there than there are listings, and more buyers out there now than there were last year as well.
That's true. And so in a minute I'll talk a little bit more about I'll try and get my crystal ball out for 2021, and that it'll kind of play into that as well. So that's the cumulative listing. So what do we think is going to happen for the second half, the rest of 2020? Again, in this graph, 2020 is the orange and then 2019 is the blue. We anticipated that we would get a few more listings in July, August, but then we're just about a parity with what we saw in 2019. So not a huge influx of listings coming on. Thinking about your 26 buyers, 25 unsuccessful buyers still looking for a home. That to some extent, this projection is kind of a missed opportunity for sellers. If they're thinking 2021 or 2020, this kind of shows you that perhaps 2020. Yeah. If you can pull it off, is the right time to do it.
Yeah, because I mean, I'm looking at that graph and I just wonder, I don't think we have as many homes coming on the market in July. It'd be interesting to get to the end of July
and
see where we are, because I just have this gut feeling. I haven't done the stats for the last couple of weeks because we've been busy. Right. But I don't think we're seeing as many homes coming on as we did last year.
I don't think we're going to see more. I think that projection of slightly more in July, I suspect in the end it will turn out to be less.
Yeah, I don't think it will.
This is the Lexington data. Arlington data, very similar. You can see, actually interestingly, you can see the effect of the mild winter in this graph. Again, orange is 2020. You can see we got more listings coming on the market early in the year, and that was because of the mild winter. Traditionally, homes come on the market late February or March timeframe. What we saw is more homes coming on the market in January, February, and early March than we saw in 2019 because of that mild winter. But this is even more pronounced. Yeah. This flattening of that curve is that mid-March timeframe.
And we stopped too. I mean, the last weekend we bought a home on the market was March 20. The last weekend in March.
Right.
And we made a decision at that point. Talked to our sellers about this. People that were planning on coming on in April. We just sort of said the market's just stopped. We really need to not bring your home on the market because buyers are just starting to hunker down. But those same buyers were back out again in force in May. That's when we started bringing homes on the market again. Yeah.
Similar projections really to what you saw in Lexington. Slightly more in that July, August timeframe, and then back to normal essentially for the so-called fall market. That's what we projected. We'll get a little bit more data when we get to the end of the month. We're almost at the end of July. We'll get a little bit more of a sense. But I think, like you, my gut tells me that we're going to get less in July than we saw last year.
And normally, for an agent, that when you talk about the whole year, August is typically when you can go away or you can just take things a bit quietly.
July last year.
Because
You're right.
The buyers have stopped, the sellers are not bringing homes on the market. That's not happening this year.
Seems not.
It's not happening this year. So tell us about 2021.
2021. Yeah. So this is a little bit of a stretch, but I have to say, it's like, you just asked me to predict what's going to happen at the end of a global pandemic. And by the way, we have an election in November.
Yeah, right.
Just to throw that one into the mix too. But, you know, here we go. Let's give it a go.
But thinking about the fact that a lot of sellers are talking about, as I mentioned at the beginning, a lot of the sellers that I'm talking about are saying, I don't think the market is very good at the moment. We're going to wait until 2021.
The implication being that it's going to be better in 21 than it is today. And I'm not sure that's true. If I think back to what we wrote in January this year, it seems like a long time ago, but this is pre-pandemic. But what we said then is we're going to get more homes coming on the market because of the economic uncertainty that 2020 was going to bring. Now, clearly 2020 excelled itself in terms of uncertainty. We've got that economic uncertainty in spades, much more than we anticipated. But we've also got the uncertainty around COVID. When will it be over? It's clearly not anywhere near over now. It's really going to stretch on. And then you can throw in there the election as well, which brings in even more uncertainty. So there's a lot happening in the market that has still to play out. We're not going into a V-shaped recession. I think that's absolutely clear. It is going to continue. We're seeing companies today, even in Massachusetts, as we're kind of pulling out of this to some extent here, beginning to let people go, still furloughing people. The airline industry, who knows what's going on with the airline industry in terms of being able to travel. So there is a huge amount of uncertainty in the rest of this year, but into 2021. And I think if I'm being entirely realistic about this, it's not clear to me that 2021 is going to be better than this year. We may well have put the COVID pandemic behind us with vaccines and that, but we have an awful lot to work through that are affecting Massachusetts. I mean, we're not immune to this. It seems to some extent, our death rate and our confirmed cases, thank you, is much lower than the rest of the country. But the economy is taking a big hit. And it is going to impact the market. So, if anybody is thinking that, 2021 is definitely going to be better, I'm just not sure that's true. That may be true in 22 and 23, that's for sure. But I think there is that great deal of uncertainty. And I think the big thing for me is this. If you think back to what we predicted in January, we said more sellers are going to come on the market because there is this perception, if not the reality, of economic uncertainty. This may be the peak of the market. Now, if they didn't come on in 2020, they're going to come on in 2021. And so it may well be that we'll see a lot more inventory. If I was talking to 2021 looks like it might be a great time to buy. From a selling perspective, I don't know if that's the case. I just think the inventory levels will be much higher than they are today.
And this is really why we're out here, because if you're trying to decide between now, we need to let you know what's going on now. And now it's very positive. It's very buoyant.
Yeah. So what would you tell a seller? Here I come to you and I go, so Dani, what should I do? Actually, that's the question, really, isn't it? There's no. I'm totally confused. What should I do? I mean, should I look to sell this year? Should I wait till 2021? What should I do? That's kind of the question here.
In my opinion, seeing what we're seeing with the market, and we're heavily involved in the market because we're busy agents now. We know what the market is doing now, and it is absolutely heaving. There's so much, so many buyers out, so much demand that now's the time to sell because we know what's happening now. We don't know what's going to happen next year. So I would sell. Give us a call, email, however you want. We can spend some time talking on the phone, or I can come in person with a mask and gloves. And let's talk about what your specific circumstances are, and let's see if it makes sense for you this year. Because to me, you're going to sell your home for a lot more money this year than next year.
Potentially will next year.
Sorry, I mean that's where it is, and that's where we want to sort of fill people in on just what's happening. And
give them solutions to, that's great, Dani, that's fantastic, but where am I going to go? right?
Yep.
I mean, that's the question,
Yep.
which was the other reason we wanted to put, a quick overview of what we would
What the
call
options
timing a buy and a sell into
Yeah.
that one, just to give you a sense of
Because
that.
it's no good selling your home if you've got nowhere to go.
That's true.
You need
Right.
to know.
Right.
And our aim is to make this as stress-free as possible for you. So we're going to help you through the whole process of coming on the market and finding that next home or finding that next rental.
Right, so you can take advantage of higher
Yep.
inventories as a buyer in 2021.
Yep.
Perfect.
So, look, if you've got any questions, give us a call, email, and thank you for watching. Yeah,
There we go.
it's time for dinner.
Great. Thanks again. Bye.
Bye.